Hi, my name's Lisa. I am a psychologist. I work mostly with children and young people and families.
What is a psychologist with a special interest in working with children?
I work with children and young people across a whole range of ages. So very little people I've met with directly as young as 2 or 3, all the way up to young adults. Often when I'm meeting with very young people, it's really important that families are a very significant part of those conversations, partly because they're usually a very significant part of the day-to-day happenings in the life of a very young person. But that can also be true for an older young person as well, if that young person and or the family think that that would be really important or useful. Usually a child, young person or family would come and see me because either something has happened to them or something is currently happening in their life that is causing concern or distress or confusing. And people typically are hoping that some conversations with me will clarify things and support them to navigate whatever it is that they're up against at that point in time.
What can I expect if I see a psychologist like you?
So when you come to see me, or perhaps someone like me, I think you can expect that I would be really curious about what it is that's happening in your life, what it is that you're hoping these conversations will contribute for you or the people that you care most about. I'll be likely to ask you questions about what's happening for you at the moment, both in terms of what might be particularly tricky or distressing, but also what might be really important to you, what might be really precious, what you're hoping to get back, or what you're hoping to do more of. And so in that way, I'm often asking about young people's strengths and interests and what they're on about in life, as well as what might be tripping them up or not going so well or causing them distress. Sometimes when children and young people come to see me, things have been going not so well for a while. And in my experience, children and young people might feel a sense of embarrassment or shame. And in fact, family may also be experiencing a sense of embarrassment or shame in coming to see someone they don't know and revealing and talking about these struggles that have been around for a while. I hope that people would experience a sense of great respect from someone like me in hearing not only about what is not going so well, but also really making space for children and young people and families to talk about what they value about each other, what is important to them, because it's really important to me that you are able to talk about the things that are not going so well in a way that doesn't add to that embarrassment or shame, but in fact makes it more possible for all of us to understand why those things might be happening and what it is that you know and what it is that you hope will perhaps turn the tables a bit on some of these struggles. The ideas that are more likely to stick and really make a difference are ideas that have been co-invented with children, young people and families over the course of a number of conversations. So I think you can expect after conversations with me that we'll start to come up with some actions or practical things that might be able to provide some relief for a child or young person. But usually those ideas are best invented with the knowledge and the imagination and the ideas that you as a family and your young people will bring to the conversations with my help.
How can I access a psychologist like you?
A lot of the work that I do is within schools, and so sometimes children or young people in a school already know that I'm around and they might actually be able to initiate a conversation with me themselves. But psychologists are also in other large organisations. Sometimes they work in teams in hospitals. They might also work in a community organisation. And so if your child or young person is already linked in with someone in, for example, a hospital or perhaps another community support service, they might be able to tell you whether or not they already have links with a psychologist that you might like to go and meet and get to know. Many psychologists like me also work in private practice, and if you wanted to see a psychologist in private practice, you can ring the receptionist and you can ask them what the likely out-of-pocket expenses would be for the kind of conversation or the kind of support that you're looking for. There are a number of ways that a GP might be able to support you with a very particular kind of referral to see a psychologist in private practice, which will usually significantly reduce the out-of-pocket costs in having conversations with that psychologist.
Are there common misconceptions about psychologists like you?
There's lots of common misconceptions in my experience about the kinds of things I can do, or the kinds of things that I will do. One of the most common misconceptions that I often meet in conversations is that I'm going to be the person who will single-handedly have all the ideas to fix a problem. I will certainly work really hard in a conversation, and I will bring lots to a conversation that I have with children, young people and families. But in my experience, the best ideas that really help to sustain a young person or start to shift the impacts of a problem or concern are ideas that are co-invented with what the young person or family already know about what's important to them, what works for them, and what is likely to make a difference.
How can I get the most out of my visit to a psychologist like you?
There's no expectation from me that young people or families need to do a whole range of preparation to get ready for that first conversation in meeting with me. I really appreciate that families, children, young people have often already been doing a lot of thinking about what's working for them, about what's not working for them, weighing up the decision whether they're going to come and see me or not. And so in my experience, when people come to meet with me for the first time, it's really possible for me to ask questions to start to get to know them, and also for them to start to get to know me.
A final word.
There's lots of things that I really love about meeting with children, young people and families as a psychologist. And it's certainly the case that I hear stories of heartbreak and heartache and loss and struggle, but I'm equally hearing stories about hope and what is most precious to children, young people and families. And I think what I really love about this work is being able to know and being able to discover new possibilities for people's lives that we may never have been able to guess at the outset of meeting each other.